A couple of months ago, I got the opportunity to catch up with fellow countryman Alistair Brownlee ahead of the championship race in Slovakia. Now, we all know Alistair for his strengths on the short distance racing, but this year he's been trying his hand at the longer distances too, and he's certainly impressed the triathlon world in his first couple of races. So I'm really interested to see how he's gone about that change and his plans for the season ahead. Hi Alistair, and thanks for joining us today. And it'd be great to pick your brain really on you stepping up from Olympic distance to middle distance. So obviously quite a big change. There's a lot to think about, maybe training tactics, what you're taking on during a race. How have you found the whole transition?
Well, so far I've done a couple of races and obviously trained for it for a few months, and I guess there's a few big differences. The first one is training for more of a constant individual effort rather than it being dictated about what's going on around you. So especially on the bike, there's kind of time trial effort, and so I spent a bit of time training for that and quite enjoyed that different kind of aspect to that, and found it okay. And then I suppose the second big thing is just the length of it, and that obviously brings in quite a lot of fatigue towards the back end of the race, but also nutrition, so getting the nutrition right, and that's definitely something that I'm still learning and playing around with and hopefully getting a bit better at.
And are you training quite smart, using power and watching your numbers during training and racing?
Yeah, so one of the big differences is for Olympic distance, you're basically training a lot of the time to go really hard and then back off, and power for me was not necessarily that valuable for that, but then for this kind of training it's very valuable and for racing. So, from all the efforts that I've been doing on the bike to the effort kind of I'm putting out in the race, I've got a pretty good idea of where I kind of should be, the ballpark, and that's what I've been training for, and that's what I'll be looking at in the race.
Cool, and obviously completely different bike now, gone from a road bike to a TT bike. It's an aggressive position. How have you found that whole aero tuck and getting used to it? Have you tried out lots of different things, maybe been in the tunnel at all, anything like that?
Yeah, so I've tried out a bit, obviously done a bit of bike fit. It's always a trade-off, I guess, with TT bike between the more aggressive you can be and the comfort, and playing around with that, and I think I've refined my position quite a bit over the last few months. I think I'll continue to do so. I've done one a very brief kind of bit of aero testing on the track at Derby Velodrome, testing a few different positions, bit of different kit, some clothing and stuff. So as I'm kind of going on, I'm hoping to refine that more and more. But I kind of made a start to it and made some little improvements. But yeah, like I said, as the kind of project of trying to be better at long distance goes on, I'll try and refine it a bit.
Cool. And if there was one tip you could pull from the whole refining that aero process, what would be the one thing you pull away and say, that's the thing I need to dial, or as someone watching this video should look at dialing in the most?
I think for me it's head position. I got quite an aggressive low position. On the whole, people argue a bit, but the lower you can get at the front, the more aero you're going to be, but then your head needs to kind of be in line with that, so head position on top of that.
Cool. And so you've got a couple of races under your belt, this longer distance. You're just focusing on middle distance at the moment. Have you had any sort of screw-ups in these races, or anything you've changed as a result of those last experiences?
Well, of course, neither of them have gone 100% perfect, so there's always things you can do a bit better. And the two races I've done have been very different to the one that's going to be the weekend, where this is a really flat, kind of very constant course. So obviously trained a bit more for that more constant effort, made sure the position's good and I feel comfortable in it. But also nutrition is a big one. I think that's always going to be a learning curve. So how I'll get those calories in and how much fluid and salts I'm taking in, I've kind of progressed on that, and I'm using a slightly different strategy this weekend than I've used before.
Cool. And obviously two-time Olympic champion, there's another Olympic cycle coming round. Do you think you'll be targeting Tokyo?
At the moment, I'm not sure. It's kind of really refreshing not to think about it. I've spent the last, I've been lucky enough to be to 3 Olympics, but for the last 2 Olympics, I've gone through the Olympic cycle knowing that, it's an Olympics that I could stand there and be favourite for and win. So that carries with it quite a lot of pressure. So it's nice not to think about it too much and enjoy other forms of triathlon at the moment. That's definitely not to say that I won't be there. I may be there, I may not be. and we'll see how much I enjoy some of the longer stuff first.
Cool. So Kona's definitely on the radar then.
Kona's definitely on the radar. Yeah, I think every triathlete wants to have a crack at Kona at some point, and I'm no different.
If you could pick one sport out of the three and just focus on it the rest of your life, what would it be?
It changes week to week. I think running has always been, my first love in lots of ways. Just the simplicity of being able to throw my shoes and get out the door. But that to say, I love riding my bike as well. I can't really imagine a day where I don't get out my bike and ride. And I think when I retire, I think a lot of my retirement's going to be around riding the bike, to the cafe somewhere, with some of my friends. So I can't see myself doing that. As for swimming, I can't see myself going down the local leisure centre to do 5k when I'm retired.
Following the black line.
Yeah, exactly. I think when I'm on holiday, or I can swim in an open air pool like I was this morning, or I can get out and swim outdoors, yeah, for sure, I'll be swimming. I love swimming outside and exploring, but yeah, I can't see myself going down the local leisure centre to do a few k.
Yeah. Now you're going to this longer distance, in a way, you sort of fend for yourself. You're not with the British triathlon team. How have you found that in terms of the support and looking after yourself at races? Like, we were just watching you sorting a bike. How are you finding that, Jude?
Yeah, obviously it's different. Being a bit more self-sufficient. I guess I'm fortunate to have the support of the Bahrain team, which is good, and the races. Like, one of the great things about Challenge is that they're really friendly. So there's a lot of support actually from the races and stuff. So that's good. But yeah, I think that is something a bit different. And so far I've been lucky to travel with people like with training partner Mark Buckingham, and do stuff at least with someone else and get a bit of help that way. I think it'd be very lonely to do it on your own. But I think that's one thing as I go forward, and especially as the racing gets a bit more demanding in terms of abroad and needing training camps to prepare for it. I think like Kona probably would take. I think I need to look into building a bit more of a team around it, really.
Yeah, and is there anything you've really changed about your training for longer distance racing now?
I haven't changed a massive amount. I mean, the one thing I've changed is a lot of my efforts have been based around individual time trial efforts, basically.
Yeah, so spending a lot more time on the time trial bike rather than the road bike.
Basically, spending time doing efforts on the TT bike. But apart from that, I've still been doing most of my easy riding.
You were now sort of having quite high volume in your training, so I guess not too much has changed there.
You can't do more volume necessarily, just to focus on the time trialing. Yeah.
Who would you say is better, or more hardcore, triathletes or cyclists?
It's impossible to say because within each sport there's a big range. There's some very hardcore cyclists and some guys that aren't so hardcore. In terms of actual engine ability, we look at everything for engine ability. The guys that at the top end of cycling, what Chris Froome can do is just absolutely mind-boggling.
And you got to train? Did you train with Froome?
No, not actually with Froome, but I did spend a bit of time with Sky.
Cool.
But yeah, I mean, and those guys do some mega hard training, I think, and really, really very focused and hard. But yeah, I mean, everything is hard in its own way, its own challenges.
Yeah, and did you pull any snippets of advice from that when you trained with the guys and brought that into your own training? A
bit of, how you train. I mean, there's a big difference between how you can train for, I think, load-bearing and non-load-bearing sports. In terms of cycling, we can train really, really hard for short periods. You can't really do that for running. It has to be a kind of consistent build-up because otherwise you just literally can't take the load. So it is quite different, but yeah, it was interesting to learn, and the whole setup I think in cycling is amazing. There's definitely stuff I can take ongoing from that.
Brilliant. Thanks very much, Alistair, for your time.
Thank you.
Really valuable stuff there. It was great to catch up with Alistair in Slovakia, and as he's shown, it's not uncommon to jump around in distances from one season to the next, or even within the same season. So there's some great advice from one of the best. And you can subscribe to Global Triathlon Network to see more videos like this for free by clicking on the globe. And to see the GTN show, our first ever GTN show, you can click up here. And to see Alistair's pro bike, you can just click here.